I have been cowed into silence by your lot.
Welcome to WatchMojoUK, and today we're looking at the most absurd live call-ins on radio and television.
I just want to say I'm actually a fan of Trump.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Number 10. Polls.
You said you don't like Polish people and you don't trust them.
That's not what I said.
Yes, that's what you said.
No.
This bloke was furious, calling in to give Mike Graham a piece of his mind after he said he didn't like and didn't trust polls. It was all a big misunderstanding though. Graham was talking about opinion polls, with 2 L's, but the caller thought that he meant Poles, as in Polish people.
Well, I'll tell you what, you want to have a listen? Have a listen to what I said, okay? Listen to this. I don't like Poles.
To be fair, if any TV presenter was being openly bigoted like that on television, it would be great to see a member of the public take them down, but that's not what happened.
But later on you said you don't trust them, so you don't...
I don't trust them. No, that's true. I don't trust Poles, and I don't like Poles because I don't trust them. But that's not Polish people.
Though the caller doesn't back down immediately, the misunderstanding is soon cleared up. It is strange, though, that the producers put the call through to Graham instead of dealing with it off-air.
No, listen, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. I'm very glad you called in because I wouldn't want you walking around thinking that Mike Graham is a horrible bigot. He doesn't like Polish people.
Number 9. Sausage rolls.
This week, you were asked if you'd ever had a Greggs, to which the Prime Minister replied, "How many times have I ever not had a Greggs? Unless I specifically tell you otherwise, I am made of Greggs."
The Tories have had a lot of run-ins with Greggs, the UK's most popular bakery chain, largely favoured by the working class. Back in 2012, George Osborne infamously wanted to introduce a sausage roll tax when he tried to impose VAT on hot takeaways. But in 2019, Boris Johnson claimed that he was a huge fan of Greggs and went there all the time.
Last time you bought a sausage roll at Greggs, Prime Minister, how much did it cost?
I don't know. I give up.
He then went on LBC, where Nick Ferrari refreshed his memory on his own comments and then asked the then Prime Minister how much a sausage roll costs. Unsurprisingly, Johnson floundered, guessing blindly that a sausage roll costs £1.90. As we all know, he was wrong.
£1.90. I have no idea.
It's a pound.
Pound.
Prime Minister, thank you for appearing here.
Number 8. Prank calls. These bizarre incidents plagued the Right Stuff in January 2018 when an unidentified man repeatedly called the show to deliver messages to his ex, Sharon.
We've had not necessarily Shannon Goodmans in the world, and a lot more American male.
I'm struggling to make a word out of that.
He disguised his voice and apparently had additional burner phones on hand just to accomplish this, as he kept getting onto the show. Every time, he started by engaging with the on-air debate and then quickly changed course to call Sharon, a fan of the show, profanities.
Morning, Matthew.
Morning. In principle, are you for or against minimum price?
I'm against it. Like I'm against what Shannon Goodman's been saying, the stupid.
Wright apologised numerous times and even threatened that if he kept at it, Channel 5 might take them off air. Poor Sharon, whoever she is.
Apologise once again to this poor woman that's constantly being harassed by this man.
Number 7. Prince Andrew. In 2019, just days after Newsnight aired its extraordinary interview with Andrew, James O'Brien managed to find the only people left in Britain who were still fans of him.
The other thing I'd like to bring up, if I may,
Yes.
is the way you are now referring to Andrew Windsor.
The first woman, identified as Muffy, rang into LBC to correct O'Brien on various things, like how he should still be using Andrew's proper HRH title despite the scandal. But she kept defending him too. She said that O'Brien himself must have friends who have made mistakes, apparently assuming that we're all befriending dodgy people and overlooking everything they do.
How many friends have you got that may have done silly things or bad things?
Well, none that have been jailed for it, Muffy.
He kept getting bizarre calls, though, with 3 different people saying that Andrew was being unfairly judged.
I think this is a witch hunt on Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein. I think this is anti-Semitism. I think Jeffrey
Good
Epstein
grief, I thought the last
innocent.
call was mad.
Number 6. Liz Truss. The former Prime Minister herself was technically doing all the calling in on this fateful day in 2022, but the BBC radio presenters got plenty of messages from the public to put to her.
We were going into the winter with people expected to face fuel bills of up to £6,000, huge rates of inflation.
And you've made it worse.
It was very unfortunate for Truss that her crashing of the economy coincided with the annual Tory party conference, when she was wheeled out for the traditional BBC local radio blitz.
Legit. People are worried about their mortgages and they're tearing their hair out over their pensions. I've got so many messages, Liz.
This certainly wasn't the biggest disaster Liz Truss caused, but it definitely didn't help things, particularly not her career, as she broke records as the most unpopular Prime Minister in history, according to those polls my Graham hates.
But what kind of decisive action, Prime Minister? Because your decisive action so far has knocked 40% off people's pensions.
Number 5. AntiWalk. Just what does it mean to be woke or anti-woke these days? Well, don't ask this caller, because he didn't seem to know either, despite describing himself as such.
But what were the courses designed to do? What were they training you to do? What were they doing?
I think they were designed to stifle rational discussion and debate.
James O'Brien gave him all the airtime he needed to explain his ideas, and the country listened to him struggle in real time. He was complaining about being made to go on courses to learn about wokeness, but couldn't give a concrete answer of what those courses were or what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, so what were the courses?
Well, various courses.
Yeah,
so
just give me one example then.
Over and over again, he refused to elaborate, tripping over himself and saying that if he did say what he meant, he'd be called a fascist and that he was being silenced.
Oh, so these were courses encouraging people to behave and be nice that you object to. That's what you mean by woke.
Number 4. Sella Braverman.
Now I am standing in for James O'Brien today.
Though she didn't lose her seat in the 2024 election, Sella Braverman still seems to be angling for some kind of media career and decided she'd have a go at presenting LBC. It probably won't surprise you to hear that this didn't go down well. She might still be an MP, but that doesn't make her popular, particularly for her extremely right-wing views on immigration.
You should be hanging your head in shame, sorry. You have the Tory party have exacerbated this problem for political gain.
Specifically, this was about the botched Rwanda plan, revealed by the Labour Party to have cost the country hundreds of millions of pounds when they took power, deporting exactly 4 people.
12 Congolese refugees were shot by Rwandan authorities for protesting food rations. That does not sound like a safe country to me.
How did she think it was going to go if she took over from James O'Brien and got his usual listeners calling in? Number 3, Trump's biggest fan.
But because he's questioned someone's birth certificate, that makes him racist.
No, because he questioned a black man's birth certificate.
James O'Brien must be a magnet for weirdos, because in yet another memorable LBC moment, he was called up by Donald Trump's #1 fan in the UK. Yes, though it's difficult to imagine any Brit describing themselves as a fan of Trump, this man existed, unless he just really loved the American version of The Apprentice. This was in 2021, right after the January insurrection, and O'Brien was talking about how he believes Trump claiming that Barack Obama wasn't born in America is racist.
Tell me about the last time an American president was accused of not being born in America.
I've forgotten the names, but...
Don't be silly. Don't tease me. Of course you haven't forgotten the name. You wouldn't...
This prompted the caller to say that white presidents had also been accused of not being born in America, but could he name those presidents? Of course not. In the end, he got so angry that he hung up.
What is it you liked about him, Stephen?
I think that he come out and spoke a lot of the truth on stuff.
Yeah, what stuff?
Number 2, sex education.
I think it's appropriate that they teach them about sex. I mean, they talk about homosexual sex and heterosexual sex, which I think is appropriate.
You'd be forgiven for thinking this baffling moment was a prank call, but apparently not. Nick Ferrari helmed a phone-in with a member of the public concerned with sex education in schools, namely that it wasn't being taught properly to teenagers. He regaled the country with an anecdote about his teenage son being taught about sex using some common household foods.
They depicted it with a banana and Nutella.
His son was very understandably confused about this, and it's especially confounding when you try to imagine what role the Nutella was playing in the simulated act.
They depicted a sex act with a banana and Nutella.
Yeah, so you can leave that to your own imagination.
We can only hope that the other kids in the class ask their parents to clarify, since we've got no idea what this teacher was on about.
What has the impact been?
He doesn't have Nutella on his toast anymore in the morning.
OK, that's probably about right, I imagine. I'm not sure.
Number 1. Concrete.
So you work with trees that have been cut down then, don't you?
It's a sustainable building practice.
This wasn't exactly a phone-in, since Cameron was an expert Talk TV had decided to bring on to talk about environmental protests, but it still remains the most absurd moment for Mike Graham's entire media career, as he asked Cameron, a carpenter by trade, why trees are sustainable when concrete isn't.
How is it sustainable if you're killing trees?
Because it's regenerative, you can grow trees.
Right.
He tries to say that it's wrong to chop down trees, but Cameron simply pointed out that trees can be planted and regrown. Graham infamously doubled down, but when it was pointed out how wrong he was, either the studio or Cameron himself hung up.
Well, you can grow all sorts of things, can't you?
Well, you can't grow concrete.
You can.
It was very strange, and Graham has continued to defend himself, waiting years for some research to come out that seemed to prove he was right.
See you, Cameron. Cheerio. That was Cameron. He grows trees and then cuts them down and then makes things from them.
Let us know in the comments if you've ever phoned in to a radio or TV show.
At what point in this conversation do you think you lost the plot?
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojoUK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.